Good facts can make a difference. One person who's done their homework, done their research, and brought facts to your attention can make a difference. 80 people. I literally have been to a meeting where 30 people have testified, and they all said that same thing. If you say yes to this, children will die. Why will the children die? Because my children play in that street, and it will increase traffic. And if it increases traffic, that means my children are going to be run over. Maybe you should tell your children not to play in the street. You know. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's what they all want to say, and that's useless. That's useless. Facts, evidence, that's what's useful. So that's my advice.
Is there a link or some entity that they can look at online, or kind of so they can be more prepared? And because it's really the books. I mean, it's hard for us to kind of navigate through it. I just thought for citizens to be prepared, you know, because a lot of them weren't aware of some of these things, and they have well-meaning, prepared statements that they bring, and it takes up a lot of time. And I think they would like to make it more meaningful when they come.
The most effective thing is the chairman, the meeting chairman's control of the meeting. Right? The meeting chairman, it does wonders when you say something like what I said at the beginning. You know, here's what we can consider, and here's what we can't consider. Right? So, you know, keep that in mind while you're testifying. That's the most effective thing, but it still doesn't stop them from lining up, and it still doesn't stop them from yelling at you and giving you all this clamor. But it helps. It helps. In the videos that I created that we talked about, they're on the Luau website. luau.utah.gov. I did do a video that tries to, like a 2-minute video that tries to express that message. You're free to play that at the beginning of the meeting if you like it, if you think it's helpful, you know, to the public, those kinds of things. But you just got to have strong control is the best way to go.
For me, it's, a lot of times we hear about it at the end of the process.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have very little time to even know what's going on. Then we get our 3 minutes of fame to try and explain what we were trying to say, which is pretty much unprepared. We don't have, and that's the frustration that we, as citizens, when things come up like this. And I know it's really difficult for the council and mayor to work with that, but that's kind of, meetings really aren't made designed to have input. They're just a little bit of time to fill legislative requirement and then out the door. And that's frustrating for people, especially if something really concerns you. But I don't know the answer to it.
Well, that brings up a question of what are your rights as a citizen, okay? The fact of the matter is that when, on an administrative decision, when you're applying the law to an application, you don't have any right to say anything. Again, the only thing they're trying to decide is does this comply with the law. That's why facts are helpful, because your facts are going to help prove whether or not it complies with the law, yes or no, right? But administrative decision, even the most controversial administrative decision, even the hog farm, you actually don't have a right to say anything. Right? Now that's frustrating, I understand. And the city, a lot of cities do this, a lot of cities will hold a public hearing to give people that right. And if the city says we're going to hold a public hearing, then they have to hold a public hearing, right? But it's still a question of sorting through between the clamor and the evidence. But that's not a right that the state law gives you. The state law does give you a right to have a public hearing and to be heard when you're doing a legislative decision. As I said, no one shows up to those meetings. But that's when you have a right to be heard. That's when what you think matters. But what you think doesn't matter with an administrative decision. You actually don't have a right to say anything, as frustrating as that is.
So what's going on now is the people that are here now, and I'm one of those people here now, what I want around me now doesn't, the people that are coming to West End and want to do stuff here, they don't want what I want or what I have. The market's changing. I mean, my kids sit there and play video games, they don't want to do yard work anymore. You know, see, so the people here want it to stay like it is, but it can't, because the people that are coming into the market don't want what I have.
Yeah. Welcome to America.
So a lot of the people that come to these meetings, they want it to stay like it is.
Yep.
And they don't want to see this change, but it's inevitable.
You can make it stay like it is. You really can. Through your ordinances. If you guys go to the city council persons and say, we want this, we don't want that, we want this to stay what it is, and they pass ordinances to make that happen, it's gonna stay like it is. Right? But they also have other constituents who are gonna want it a different way, and they have to listen to them. And so that's why we elect people. We elect people to decide, to make that decision, you know, about how we're gonna have it, how it would have to be. But they're, hopefully, if they wanna get elected again, they're gonna listen to you, and they're gonna listen to them, and they're gonna decide what they feel is best. But, I mean, every city I've ever been to says the exact same thing. You know, I mean, you should see Heber City. You know, Heber City was this beautiful country town until 15 years ago. And its population is like 15 times now what it was before. And all the old-time Heber City residents are just saying just like you. And now it's this huge city, massive city.
My understanding is that by law, we have to approve and allow different types zones in our city. And so even though we wanted to keep it all 1 acre lots, we were sued, and we did lose, and we do have a subdivision up here that is in a dreadful spot because we, as a city, not provide enough options out there because they were all 1 acre lots. And so even though we would all like to have them 1 acre lots or 20 acre farmhouses or whatever, there's still laws that make it so you have to develop a city.
Yes, that's true, but remember what your flexibility is as far as zoning goes, okay? You have tremendous amount of flexibility. The only thing you really can't do is tell people that they can't do anything. You have to allow them to do something, okay? But as I said before, say somebody's in an agricultural area, you don't have to rezone them.
No, but if that's all you've got in the city, that's where it starts coming in. So if you don't have any mixed use in that city, then you have to sit there and say, if there's only 100% 1 acre lots, then you still are on slippery ground.
You're on slippery ground, but that slippery ground is it's not as severe as you think, okay? You have one agricultural zone, you have one residential zone, you have one commercial zone. You're good. You really are good. One of your options is to completely get rid of this mixed use zone. There's nothing in the law that requires you to have one.
So what about the affordable housing that's going to be created down there?
Well, we're waiting to see how that's going to play out. Right now, you don't have a requirement to have affordable housing. You have a requirement to plan for it. The plan has to have an affordable housing plan, but the city does not have to have any affordable housing.
I think there's a completely notion that if our ordinance says 1 to 20 and you know, Farmer Jones comes in and wants 20, then, you know, boy, if I don't have that zone that allows him to get 20, I'm not taking care of his property rights.
That's not true.
I gotta respect his property rights.
That's not true. I mean, you have to let people do something, right? And they have a right to do what their zone says that they have a right to do, but no one has a right to a new zone. If someone comes and asks you for a zone, you never have to change that zone, to grant that zone change. Your decision about whether or not to grant that zone change is that what's best for the community? If that's what's best for the community, say yes. If you don't think it's what's best for the community, say no. So what you're saying is true, but it doesn't extend to that extent. If someone sues you for they asked you to change the zone and you said no, they will lose that lawsuit. I 100% guarantee it. No one ever has won that lawsuit ever.
So even if it says it on the general plan,
Even if it says it on the general plan.
Then where's the ambiguity of having one person say, yes, I like that, and one person says, no, I don't like that? What determines whether or not?
A vote.
Zone 3 to the zone.
Well, then it's like 3 against 1, let's argue about it, and if it's on the general plan for R1 and someone comes in for commercial and 3 people say in the middle of the town, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, it might not be really a
Yeah,
great idea.
that's why you're an elected official, is to make that decision, okay? Somebody once asked me how many people they have to have at a city council meeting to get a zone change. And I said, how many are on the city council? And they said 5. I said, then you need 3. It's not a question, you listen to what the people say, but you don't have to do what they say. Because you're going to listen to different messages. The only reason you're motivated to do what they say is to get reelected, right? But you have these guys over here saying they want you to do one thing, these guys over here saying they want you to do another. You decide and vote. And if there's enough votes for one way or the other, that's the way it's going to go. And no one is going to be able to sue you and win out of that. No one. Because it was a legislative decision, you have legislative discretion. I'll give you the legal jargon, okay? The standard of review for legislative decision is it reasonably debatable that it's in the public's best interest? Reasonably debatable. Which means that if it is reasonably debatable, if you can just debate it and be reasonable about that debate, that decision is going to be upheld. No one has ever overcome that standard. All you have to do is be able to look someone in the eye and say, I think that's what's best for the town. If you can do that, your legislative decision is going to be upheld. And so that's a yes, that's a no. Yeah.
On that affordable housing, I think this misnomer, affordable housing is what you can afford. When you go to the bank and get a loan, they tell you what you can afford to pay it. If you're going to have low-income housing, and the government generally subsidizes that, give them a stipend to help make a difference. That's how government looks at it. Everybody else, we go to the bank, affordable housing is what we can afford.
Yeah, well, the terms they're using now is moderate income housing and low income housing.
Yeah.
And housing affordability and affordable housing are two different, completely different concepts. But there are things going to be coming down the pike on those things. Right now, you're not obligated to put in any, but you might be one of these days.
And what would that be? What would be affordable
I have
housing?
no idea.
That's what you can afford.
Yeah, but that's what
There's
I
actually
say.
a formula from the State Department of Workforce Services.
That's what I say, if the government gets involved and tells you what is affordable, then there's a problem.
It's not going to be called affordable
The
housing.
plan that we're required to have does reference, there are actual formulas from the Department of Workforce Services.
But we don't certainly have a law that requires it, correct?
You don't have to have it, you have to have a plan to provide for it. So you have to create a plan to create the circumstances to have it, but you can't go force somebody to build it. Is my understanding of it.
So did you say on it's currently zoned one thing, but on the general plan it's another, you don't have to rezone it?
No, that's what I said. That's what I said. The general plan is completely advisory. You don't have to follow it.
But if somebody wants it, and that's the way it is on the general plan, and we say, no, actually, we just want to keep it the way it is.
That's right. You can do that. You can do that. Now, if you're going to do that, you need to rethink your general plan. Okay? And following your general plan is advisable. It's smart because hopefully your general plan was made by good planners, right? Who know what's best for the community. So the fact that it's such and such a thing in the general plan should have a major influence on your decision. Okay? But you ask me, do you have to make that change because it's in the general plan? And the answer is no. You do not have to follow the general plan.
But maybe,
You're stupid if you don't.
but maybe the reason our attorney tells us to do it is because you're stupid. if you
Because
don't.
you're stupid if you don't.
But if you don't follow, you probably should look back and revise that.
Correct. Because if you don't want a zone change, why would you put that in your general plan?
Well, what if somebody came in for that zone and you're like, and then you rethink it, was they present something, you don't want to change it, you can't really go back and change the general plan to what you do want if somebody's already made an application to,
Well, yeah, but
can you?
you deny their zoning application, even though your general plan says that. And then you tell the planning commission to revise the general plan.
So you can do it if somebody's even made application for
Yeah.
a certain project, and you're like, actually, I don't think that works there.
A general plan, zoning change is a legislative decision, you know, reasonably debatable, right? No one forces you to make a zone change. No one forces you to make a change. Say your zone says R1 in your general plan, and someone comes and applies for an R2, and you don't like the R2, so you approve a change to an R2. Your general plan said R1. You approve a change to an R2. You're perfectly fine.
And vice versa.
And vice versa.
Okay, so I'm curious. I thought I'd couple these. What's the evil developer comment?
Me too. I was curious.
Too often, well, let me put it this way. the best developments, in my opinion, generally do not result from an antagonistic relationship with developers. They don't. That just results in that usually leads to bad results. The best situation is to always remember that the developer generally wants the same thing as you, and that is a beautiful town, right? A beautiful product, okay? They want it for a different reason. They want it to make money, but what sells is going to be what's beautiful, right? So that's not to say that you can't disagree with them, and that's not to say there aren't evil developers out there who just go around being jerks and don't care what you want and just want to fight with you and stuff like that, and you have to do what you have to do. But if you're overall, you keep in mind that the developer is here to build your town. You know, you don't build the town. The developer will build your town, and if you cooperate with the developer, if you work with the developer with that goal in mind, build my town, right? My ordinances say how you have to build it that way, make sure it happens, and you're going to end up with a better town. I just found that to be the case. I mean, I'm in a unique situation. I talk to people all over the state, from one side to the other. I take phone calls every day. I take phone calls from mayors, from developers, from city council persons, from planners, from attorneys, all day long. I don't think, I'd be surprised if there's anybody in the whole state who has seen what's going on, like an overall 30,000 foot picture, like I have. Because I go everywhere. I've probably visited more than 2/3, close to 3/4 of the cities in the state. I've taken phone calls from probably all of them at some point or another. I can only tell you what the trends are, though, what the big picture is. You guys still have to decide what's best for West Haven. And you guys have tremendous flexibility to decide what's best for West Haven. Just make sure you put it in here. Is that it?
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys, I really appreciate it. Start small, okay? Just work to improve.